So it being on 4 o'clock on December 1st, we'll call this meeting of the Gardner Elementary School Finance Subcommittee to order. Just a quick note, subject to the law passed by the governor signed on June 16th, this meeting of the City of Gardner Building Subcommittee will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch the meeting may do so in the following manner by watching on the Gardner City YouTube page. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the city's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of the proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. So with that said, we've called to order. Dr. Hammond, would you mind calling the attendance, please?
Mark Pellegrino,
Here.
Wayne Anderson,
Present.
Robert Hankinson, no. Jennifer Plavin,
Present.
Bob Schwartz, no. Mark Hawk,
Present.
and we have a quorum.
Excellent. Do I hear a motion to approve the bills, approve the minutes from November 3rd?
Moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. We have a first and second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing no discussion, let's put the matter to a roll call vote. Dr. Hammond, please.
Mark Pellegrino,
Yes.
Wayne Anderson,
Yes.
Robert Hankinson here yet? No. Jennifer Plavin,
Yes.
Mark Hawk,
Yes.
we have a vote.
Excellent. Approval of bills and orders.
We, Mr. Chairman, we have just one bill we'd like to approve, and that is for Allied for $2,400. Bill number 23479.
Do I hear a motion to approve that bill and to pay for the bill? So I heard Wayne Anderson say so moved. I
I'll
heard Jen
second.
Plavin say second. Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing no discussion, let's put the matter to roll call vote. Dr. Hammond, please.
Mark Pellegrino,
Yes.
Wayne Anderson,
Yes.
Jennifer Plavin,
Yes.
Mark Hawk.
Yes.
We have a vote. Mr. Chairman, I would add, the reason I bring these bills, the Allied testing, they give us twice a month, and otherwise we'd be way behind. So it's
Yep.
easy enough for the subcommittee's authority to authorize the payment.
Excellent. I'd rather keep up with the bills. That's excellent. All right. So if that's the only bill we have, a report from the OPM. Mr. Alex?
Okay, I'm just going to share my screen if I could.
Yep.
If I can find. Okay, you guys seeing that?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay, so again, our budget was this 89.5 million to begin with. We've, prior to tonight's invoice, we paid out 33.1, almost 33.2 million. We have under contract about $73.1 million. And last month we approved invoices in the amount of 4.1 million. But about 16.7 million of the 33 that's been previously spent and submitted for ProPay, we're anticipating as being reimbursable for reimbursable. And of that, based on our percentage, City of Gardner's percentage of reimbursement, that would come out to be about 13.3 million. That does not include the most recent invoices. These numbers are kind of carried over from last month. The latest ProPay submission wouldn't be in there. There's always a little bit of a lag, but roughly we're in that 50% range of what's been deemed eligible for reimbursement, and then you're getting roughly 80% of that.
Okay.
Tim, there was one other thing mentioned. There's an email that came through about change orders. And would you explain what has to happen on the change orders as far as MSBA is concerned with?
Well, the MSBA, yeah, the MSBA, it does a quarterly review of changes. They don't do a final reimbursement on change orders until the end of the project during the final audit. But they do like to just go through them and tally the numbers and see really what they would plan on participating in. For new construction, we only get 1% of reimbursement, or 1% of change orders reimbursed. So they give us a tally quarterly. We're required to submit a spreadsheet that has everything laid out. And so you'll be seeing letters coming back from them indicating that a certain percentage or a certain amount has been allocated against that, what they would say is the 1% reimbursement. But just to jump in, I can show you our contingency. We originally started off with, I just switched screens, so hopefully you can see this.
Yes,
But
we
our
do.
our original contingency was 3.5. We had bid savings of 1.8, and that's the district's portion. If I roll that 1.8 up into construction contingency, we've spent, of the 1.8, we've already spent about $869,000. So roughly, we have about another 900,000 of bid savings that we haven't spent yet. So really, adding that 900,000 to our original 3.5, it brings us up to 4.4 million in contingency. We have about $1 million, almost 1.1, that we're carrying as potential items. So even if we spent all of that, we would have in contingency 3.3 million, plus owner's contingency of 1.7 million. We do need some of that money for, you'll see here that we're planning on spending in our FF&E a little bit more than what was originally budgeted. So that would be covered by contingency funds. And then this additional need really is whatever else that may come up on the project going forward that we don't know about, that we don't have in our log. So we have $1 million or 1.1 in a log. We could spend up to about 5 million in addition to that to break even, to zero out the project. But so financially, we're looking good. We have a number of things to talk about tonight, and they add up. But overall, we're doing well. The project has been billed out about 37%. Contractor has billed out about 40% of the construction cost. You know, of that original contingency of 3.5, again, we've spent almost 870,000, so about 25% of original contingency. But that equals about 1.4 of the overall construction budget. So that's kind of where we would expect to be. Just for round numbers, if you doubled that and you said that, okay, over the course of the project, we were to spend 3% in contingency, that wouldn't be, you know, that's in the range where you might expect it to be.
Okay.
Any questions about overall finances or project finances in general?
No, I think we all like under budget, so that's nice. All right,
Okay, great.
thank you. Moving on, if there are no questions for the OPM,
No, who's going to do the change orders?
Go ahead, Christian.
I think I'm up. Let me,
It should be one of the guys with the goatees.
What are you talking about?
great. Can everyone see that screen there? And I'll blow it up a little bit. So this is the narrative that we sent out a little bit earlier, a couple days ago. I can go through them very quickly. The only one that I think we want to add, and Tim and Matt, I had to leave the meeting a little bit early today, so I'm not sure, but I think before I forget, there is one on site concrete that we might want to add a not to exceed approval of at the end of this list. But so starting off, number 82, again, the number's pretty low. As you can see, it's been out there a long time. I think we informed the committee about it when it was at the $180,000 number. We've had a lot of back and forth since then. We are now on version 3, and it's coming in at 101,796. This is for seismic tiebacks to CMU walls. And we were able to have the Miss Metal subcontractor do the work, United Steel, instead of the structural steel subcontractor. That saved quite a bit, and we've simplified the design since then. And that's why it's a little bit less than, or quite a bit less than the first number that came in. 133 is smaller ceiling changes in the connecting corridors. As I said in the narrative, these are a little bit complicated in that we have 2 different kind of voids going through the ceiling area, one of which is fire rated for utilities that go between the 2 wings. And so we just had to, with all of the different utilities going through there, we had to modify the ceilings a little bit. The cafeteria metal panels, this one is a little bit frustrating, but you all saw this a month ago and voted for a not to exceed of $12,000. And of course, it came in $2,000 more than that. So looking for approval tonight at the $14,706 number. And this is because just material prices have been increasing, and they made it very painfully obvious to us that this price is only good until December 5th, and then we can expect it to go up again. Gas piping, this one we're requesting a not to exceed because we think that some of the quantities are a little bit high on this one. I don't think it will go down substantially, but hopefully a little bit. And this was once we really understood the requirements from Unitil and National Grid. The gas piping kind of had to loop around itself to miss the transformer, and then we needed a certain number of linear feet without any bends before it goes into the generator. And so this is for some of that reworking. Adding a sink to the nurse suite. This was a change that was just made very late in the game during the addenda period. We had a great meeting with the nurse team, but unfortunately it was very late in the project. And so this sink was missed on the plumbing scope. 176.2 is the wall pads to the comm rooms. So this one has changed pretty substantially from last time you saw it. But this is a very different system than what we were looking at before. So we originally came in with kind of just standard gym wall pads. Then there was a small increase to basically have it be similar to a gym wall pad, but kind of flipped over on itself so that there weren't seams, but it was still kind of a material that was either fastened or Velcroed to the wall. This is a very different system where they actually kind of form it in place, then they put a coating across the whole thing so that it's incredibly uniform and seamless. They're able to taper the top and the bottom, and this also includes putting the padding on the back of the doors.
How many rooms is this going to be?
1, 2, 3, 4,
6.
5, 6. Number 180 is for a soffit change at some ducts that we have in the corner of the pre-K rooms. We had a soffit that kind of went straight across, and once we got the true size of the corner unit, it protrudes beyond that straight soffit, so we have to angle it out to meet the diffuser unit below. 185 is one again where we're asking for a not to exceed for tonight, just so that we can move forward on it once we do meet a negotiated total with Bacon. But basically, we had a different type of insulation and a different type of cover board in our construction documents. They recommended changing it. the problem with that is that it goes from one subcontractor to another. And so this is just the additional scope that the roofing subcontractor would have to do. But I think that, you know, they failed to kind of give us a deduct for the work from other subcontractors for what was included in the construction documents. So we're pushing back on part of that, but hoping that we could get approval for not to exceed tonight.
That's the 15,806.
That's the 15.8, yes, correct. And then the last one, 186. This one, actually, we have received some, a little bit of clarification on this one. I still have not really seen the exact numbers from the roofing contractor on where this cost is coming from. So I think we'd want to see that, but I don't think this is going to change now that we understand more about this. But this is the fascia, the front edge of the roof along the entire project. And it needs to just get a little bit deeper. I think it's about 3/4 of an inch. We had one area where the soffit behind it was a little bit deeper. I don't know how detailed we want to get into it, but anyway, so it's not changing very much, but there's a lot of it around the whole roof, around the whole project. So this is for $6,893 for that change. And then down here, and Tim and Matt, I don't know if this got a number, but I think we're looking at around, you know, 6,000. So I bumped it up a little bit for overhead and profit for looking at changing the site concrete. This is for the flat work, the sidewalks. What I don't know is there's also some talk of also adding a coating to that concrete. We've been instructed not to ice or not to salt sidewalks. But of course, some might get on there from the road or whatever. And so that the sealer might help prevent some of that spalling and some of that concrete damage that can happen when salt gets on it. So I don't know if we heard a ballpark price for that part of it.
Not for the ceiling.
Not yet.
Not for the ceiling.
But I think to get a not to exceed, does 8,000 sound reasonable to you, Matt and Tim, or do you think it should be a little bit?
I think
No, I
maybe
think-
10, because $300 and something a bucket or a 5-gallon pail, was it? I have no idea how
That's
many.
the sealer.
Right.
Yeah, that's a separate issue, but for the concrete itself, I think the 8,000 should be
Well,
okay.
can't we at least get a not to exceed for the two? That way we can move on it if we have to, or you want to keep them totally separate?
My understanding was that the sealer doesn't go on until 28 days after the concrete is poured. So I think we'd have time to come back.
They talked, there could be a credit too for, because you don't, if you put the stuff on, I believe you don't have to wet cure the concrete. You just, so there's some negotiating to do on that. So I think we should wait.
Some potential labor savings. So if we could also add the $8,000 as a not to exceed to deal with this flat work concrete issue. That would be great, just so that we can work on that with Bacon and then approve it and have it move forward as quickly as possible. Are there any questions on any of the specific PCOs that we went through?
So that, Christian, the total, it was 297, 156 then, if I had it correctly, the 8,000.
Correct, yes, that would be, yeah.
Now, right now, if the subcommittee approves it, you're telling Bacon it's been approved not to exceed, and then you put this will be change order number 11 document put together for approval at the building committee, but Bacon's told that the subcommittees approve it so you can proceed.
Exactly. So this was really helpful. So at our last meeting, we had approval for the canopy pier footings, for instance, and that was at a not to exceed. And it came in a little bit under what the not to exceed was, I think about $4,000 under. But Bacon was really chomping at the bit to get going on that work right away. And so we were able to approve that, which was great. And now we will formally include that in change order number 11 And the whole building committee will see that at our next meeting in 2 weeks.
That will most likely be number 188 on the PCO. You want to put a number on it?
For the concrete.
Yeah.
Christian, can you just quickly reiterate the concrete change, the upcharge? What was the
So-
reason again?
Yeah, so we have 4,000 PSI concrete in our specs. And Fuss and O'Neill feels that is adequate and typical. Maroy, who's doing some of the site work, and Bacon have had issues in the past where they've, there's been some spalling or some warranty issues. And so Maroy was claiming that they won't, to be totally honest, it's not clear what their warranty would cover, but they are raising a red flag that the concrete should be 5,000 PSI. So it seems like a safer approach. But again, it's a little bit murky on what exactly that warranty would cover.
And they're going to be pouring this soon?
They hope so.
I think they're interested in pouring some of the handicap drops right away.
What's the difference between the 4,000 PCI and the 5,000? What's the difference?
1,000.
I know that, Mr. Business Manager, I know that.
Yeah. So one minor correction, Christian, sorry, but it's
No,
Marguerite.
Marguerite.
It's
yeah.
murky. Oh, thank you.
It's Marguerite. There is Morris is the site contractor, but
Thank
it's
you. Another M.
yes, another M. From what I've been told, I know Bacon and Marguerite, like 2 or 3 projects ago, are in litigation over a similar situation with 4,000 to 5,000, and everybody's going around. It says code is 5,000 for areas where it freeze thaw cycle, and you're going to have the ice and chemicals, blah blah blah. So I recommended adding a sealer anyway, given the condition of the curbing to the middle school, to hopefully prevent any spalling before I leave and retire. So yeah, that's my 2 cents.
And Steve, just in terms of the PSI, it's the strength of the PSI, so it's different admixtures and how the cement cures or how the concrete cures. And so they test it after it's been poured to make sure that it's meeting that strength criteria. So 5,000 PSI you typically see in structural concrete and not so much in flat work. But as Wayne said, there's with the freeze thaw, things of that nature, they recommend it for the flat work as well.
So it's stronger and will last longer. Is that the issue?
That's the hope.
Okay.
So just as a quick aside, Christian and or Matt, if you want to swing down at the police station, we had a similar issue. The public entrance to the side, the flat concrete there, they poured this time of year in the winter, and we had these thin, like hairline fractures throughout the whole thing. Long story short, we came to an agreement. We had 55-gallon drums of that stuff that you're talking about putting on it. And to the best of my knowledge right now, since we put that on it, those hairlines have not done anything, but they did come into being. I'll make a motion to approve the whole thing for the 100 and I can't read that 97. 297, 156.
Yep.
297, 156.
Do I hear a second?
Second, Anderson.
Thank you. Any discussion on the motion?
I had one question about the padding. Has anybody actually seen this padding, or because it just feels like a newer situation? I just want to make sure that before we go through this process that it's something that makes sense, I guess.
Good point. Is this some kind of sample we can look at or something?
Yes, I will email videos to everybody, but I have spent way too much time on this and probably shaved off about 30 years of my life.
So Wayne, you found this?
Yes, it's gold medal padding out of Florida. I've talked, the estimator is an architect or a former architect that's done a lot of work in these types of situations. I met with another architect recently who's designed similar rooms, and he basically, said you put your money into these rooms because,
Yeah. I mean, like the little things that we've done, even in these rooms that we've put together, we had to update them a couple times when Desi walks through. They have to be up to a very high level, and it's quite frankly very subjective. So the better it looks, and the cleaner it is in terms of how it's designed, the better off we are.
Yes.
So I think that's extremely important. So
Yes,
can you share the link at some point?
Yes, I'll share the link with everybody.
That's all. Yeah, I think that would be helpful.
Who should I share it with?
I'd like to see it, Jen.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to it. I just want to make sure if we're gonna spend this on something that, we might not be familiar with. I want to make sure.
I think that is perfectly appropriate, Mrs. Blake.
Wayne, if you want to send me the link, I'll send it out to the subcommittee. So send me the link and I'll take it out to everybody.
Perfect. Thank you. Any other discussion on the motion? Hearing no discussion, let's put the matter to a roll call vote.
Mark Pellegrino,
Yes.
Wayne Anderson,
Yes.
Jennifer Plavin,
Yes.
Mark Hawk. Did I miss
Yes.
anyone?
Yeah, I think some people have jumped on since.
Has Bob Hankinson on?
Yep, Bob is. Yep.
Yes, yes.
Okay, and Bob Schwartz? No, okay. We got that vote, Mr. Chairman. The question I want to put with these change orders, because when we have when I go see the Bacon to sign them, they want to reserve rights for days. Do we see anything or issues at the moment on the critical path for days on change orders that they're asking additional? That is going to be coming up at some point.
I thought we were approving all change orders with 0 time add.
We are, but they put in that they reserve the right to come back. We haven't approved it on change orders, that if there's something on that. Now, I've had discussions when I've had Shirley sign it, indicating that there's nothing on right now, the critical path, but they have still put it on. We're not approving the days. So I don't know if that's going to come forward or not. And again, it comes to critical path issue. Tim, I don't know if you want to comment on that.
Yeah, typically we want to make sure that if you guys are approving something and it's a change to the contract, that you understand the complete change. Part of the change is the dollar value, but the other part of the change is any timing. So I would not recommend approving or allowing somebody to reserve, hey, you know what, let me just see what else happens. They're asking for they're giving a proposal. They understand where we are in the project, give a dollar value, give a time frame, we'll accept it or we won't. I would not recommend allowing them to reserve any rights. They don't have any rights to reserve.
Well, makes them feel a little better, but you're absolutely correct. They'd have to come back and get the days approved anyway, so.
Yeah, I don't see anything on here, just to kind of go through, but that doesn't mean they won't necessarily ask for anything. The seismic thing, number 82, that's a big dollar value, and it's probably a lot of work that's involved. 133, 139, the gas piping, 167, 170, I don't see that as an issue. The wall padding is really for the cost of the pad. It's not so much we're adding a big scope of work. We're just upgrading the quality of the pad. 180, the soffits is pretty minor. Parapet roof changes. Yeah, I don't see anything. And again, if I would say that it's not approved with any time. If they want to come back and want to revisit it later, well, we can have that discussion later. But at this point, 0 days is what I would approve.
No days have been approved, but I just want to make sure everybody realizes they're questioning that and wanting to reserve the right to come back. Basically reserve the right to come back and say, hey, we need additional days. When my discussion, I said, truly, it's the critical path. If your subcontractor needs some additional days, that's in your bailiwick to do it. But we're concerned about July 15th. So that's the key.
Yeah, I mean, there may come a time where we need to give them some time. I mean, honestly, there's additional work that we may be asking for, and it may not necessarily deserve added time, but based on all sorts of different scenarios, we may say that, you know what, it's worthwhile politically to maintain a positive karma on the project to give them some time and let them go. And that's why we set the date as July 15th, giving ourselves a little bit of wiggle room in case there were some extra days needed. Right now, they haven't necessarily told us of any major delays. You know, at today's meeting, we asked again any major issues that they're aware of that they could want to let us know about that may impact the schedule, and they didn't have any. So, you know, so far so good. You know, we still have, you know, these supply chain issues, and who knows what's around the corner.
The other, Mr. Chairman, I'd like, Christian, if you'd let the subcommittee know the FF&E, where we are going on that.
Sure, we had a good meeting with Steve, and then Josh joined us by phone with both our FF&E folks and our technology folks. So that's, as Tim mentioned when he was going through the budget, the furniture budget is coming in a little bit higher than we had anticipated. So we'll take a look at that and see what decisions can be made, and or if we need to pull a little bit from owner's contingency. But both of those processes are moving along well. I think we're hoping to, basically those are a mixture of state contract and putting work out to bid. And we'll do that in the December, January timeframe and get moving on both of those aspects of the project.
Window testing?
Yep.
So one of the testing outfits that was we've used in the past was hired by the contractor, and they came out and retested some windows. And what was discovered was it appears that there's a caulking that's part of our primary seal around the windows that is supposed to attach to the air and vapor barrier and around the windows and around the wood blocking around the windows. There's this blue self-stick material, and that gets sealed at the seams. And so where it gets sealed at the seams, that sealant and the sealant for the windows, they're just not, they're compatible in that one doesn't dissolve the other one, but they just don't adhere to one another. So there's going to be some testing done on some different material to make sure we have adhesion, and then they'll set up another air and water test on those windows, and hopefully, you know, knock on wood, that resolves the issue. The problem is it takes the caulking a week to set up. So by the time you put it on, you have to wait a week and then test. And so there's just a timeline, unfortunately. And we can't, what this is holding up isn't necessarily holding up installation of the windows, it's holding up finally sealing the windows, but it's really a bigger issue is it's preventing the mason from moving forward with the exterior veneer, brick veneer on the outside. So I think the contractor has it kind of nailed down as to what the issue is now, and now it's just making sure that they can have a corrective action that works.
Okay, well, glad we got them tested. That's a good thing then, I guess.
Oh yeah, I mean, you know, this type of thing happens.
Yep.
You know, the specifications, you're giving one of 3 different manufacturers for the sealant that goes around the windows, another list of manufacturers and products that go as far as the air and vapor barrier, and depending upon which items different subs choose to use, making sure that everything is compatible is always kind of a challenge.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for Tim and the OPM? Hearing no
Actually, I
questions.
do have one other item, Mark, if you don't mind. It's a proposal request that we've rejected, and I want to let the committee know about it. It was submitted from the electrical subcontractor for escalation in material costs. This is a lump sum job. The contractor has submitted a cost to do the work. They bid the project during a pandemic where fluctuations in product availability and costs should have been anticipated. But they submitted a cost or a claim for roughly $300,000 for escalation in cost. And again, this has been rejected, but I want to let you know because of the size and scope of it, I have a feeling that they're not going to just take that one rejection and walk away, that they'll probably circle back and pursue this.
Which contractor was this again, Tim?
Griffin Electric.
Electric, okay.
Yep.
Okay. Well, thank you for the heads up on that. Christian, do you have any updates for us?
That covers it. Thank you.
Okay. Any old business or new business?
None that I'm aware of, Mr. Chairman.
And other business before the subcommittee? I don't think we have anybody for public comments. If there's anybody for public comments, I don't see anyone. So moving on, next meeting is January 5th, 2022. So that date is wrong on the thing. So no need for executive session. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Ayes have it. We are officially adjourned. Thank you very
Thanks for
much,
catching-
everyone.
Thanks for
Good night,
catching my
everybody.
21, 22. I'll have to figure that one out. Oh, well. We'll see everybody.
Bye.